Ladies and gents, welcome to week 12 here in CA 102, Culinary Concepts and Foundations. Chef Matthew and I welcome you to another fine, and final live session here in CA 102, 1807. And we are getting ready to ship all of you off to 121 with Chef Caesar. And it's going to be an exciting time, but I know for myself, and I know for Chef Matthew as well, we're going to miss a lot of the faces that we see on a weekly basis and a lot of the communication that we have with all of you. So it's been an awesome experience the last 11 weeks at this point. And the amount of growth that Chef Matthew and I have seen has been absolutely fantastic. And as an educator and as a chef, when you see people grow, and you see skills improve, that's the reward, that's the payday. And when all of you move into the career and start working in industry, a successful chef is a better teacher, right? Because we have to teach all day long. All we do is teach and train besides cook. And so all of you are moving that way. Time flew by, didn't it? Did it go by fast for everybody? Yeah. Wait till you guys get into 121. You guys have gotten so good at following instructions and following directions. Once you move into 121, a lot of that's going to kind of go away because you're going to be working without recipes now. So you're going to be relying upon all the techniques that you've picked up in this course. So focus on those techniques, focus on making them good. It's really, really important. So I know Chef Matthew has prepared a special song for a goodbye song. Not a good reaction, Chef Matthew. No, I know you haven't, but let's talk briefly about week 11 and how to go for everybody. How did everybody like week 11? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Everybody, Ruben's all over. Daniel down there is saying Demira Liz is back. Timothy, Sandra's got 2 thumbs up. Vincent, what about you? Yeah, Gianna? You like it? Thumbs down. No. What happened? You didn't like it? What happened?
My noodles, I ended up having to redo them twice.
Okay. That's all right. You know what? Mistakes, Christy Reeves is thumbs up. Mistakes are sometimes the best way that we learn. And, sometimes when I work with my cooks in the kitchen within industry, I always explain the story of the best way to learn how not to fall off of a bicycle is to fall off the bicycle, right? And I know that's rude, and the best way to learn not to cut yourself is to cut yourself. And that's just kind of a reality of the way things work. So that noodle experiment, you'll probably end up being the pasta queen of your local community after going through something like that. So I certainly understand it. What about the carrots Vichy? Does anybody have any comments on that? Yeah? Uh-oh. Timothy, what happened? Why didn't you like them, man?
Oh, I just don't like carrots. I mean, they turned out awesome. They were good for what they were. I just don't care for carrots.
Yeah, but how's your vision?
It's getting worse. I'm 4 inches from the screen.
Those carrots are supposed to help you see. Sandra, what do you think about the carrot Vichy?
Well, I thought it was pretty good because it wasn't sweet like glazed carrots, you know. My son doesn't really like carrots, but he tried a couple just to give me a taste test, and then I come back and he had it all eaten. He just said, "Oh, these are good," and I'm like, "I thought you didn't like carrots." He said, "I don't, but these are good." So yeah, I liked them. They were really easy to make too.
I like it. I like it. Hey, Christy, what was your biggest takeaway from the carrots?
Meet myself.
What's that?
Oh, I had trouble. I think I had a little bit too much water, so it didn't evaporate as soon as the carrots got soft. So I had to take them out, let the water evaporate, and then add them back.
Okay.
But they still tasted good.
Right. Hey, you know what? These I do not like to see people make mistakes, and I don't like to see people make errors, but I do at the same time, because that tells me that you're learning. And when you go through the process and you trip something up, it helps you remember so much better the next time. And you learn now that, hey, too much liquid is not going to dehydrate in the appropriate amount of time.
Right.
I guarantee you're going to get really good at making that product. And that's the way. I can't tell you how many steaks I had to burn until I learned how not to burn a steak. Yeah. I'm a little slow, but that's what my wife says. But it takes me a long time to figure that out. What do you guys think about the pasta?
Oh, the pasta was great.
Yeah, Ebony, what happened? Why you thumbs down, Ebony?
My noodles look like I was making chicken and dumplings.
All right, so what'd you do wrong?
They tasted real good, but they were so thick and hard, and I rolled them things out until I couldn't roll no more.
Yeah. Okay, so you got to make sure that when we roll that pasta out, we get down to at least 1/8 of an inch to roll that out. Yeah, that's important. April, what about you? What'd you think about the pasta?
I thought it was fun making it. I loved it. It was great. I had no problems.
No problems? Ruben, you look all pumped up about the pasta. What's going on, man? Did it work out for you?
It was two batches of doughs to keep at home. The family loved it. It was awesome. Have fun with it. It was a breeze. I liked it. I mean, my volcano erupted a couple of times. I had to chase the lava back in and everything, but it worked out, you know. It wasn't as simple as they showed on the video, but, you know, I made it work.
Hey, that's how you learn that. I mean, and just like Chef was saying with the dough, you don't know what dough that's too dry is till you make it too dry. I mean, you got to make those mistakes and go, oh, okay, I'll start over. Thankfully, it's just dough. It's not a porterhouse steak that you have to throw away.
That happened to me. I made that first mistake, but I kept with it, and the final results were the final results. So it's like if I would have gave up, I would have just kept on, not realizing it, just to stick with it. And it was awesome. I loved it.
That's what it's all about right there. And a lot of times when you guys get into industry, chefs also wear the hat of problem solver. And you guys are going to face a lot of challenges. The successful chefs work through it, just like Ruben was talking about. You're going to make things that don't come out. You're going to need it right away. You've got to be solution-minded to succeed in the culinary industry. If you walk around with a negative, I can't do it attitude, it ain't going to happen for you. You're going to go nowhere. But those who walk around with, we can fix it, we can make it happen, failure's not an option attitude, you fly to the top in a heartbeat. And that's a big key that we look for as chefs in this industry. So always keep your heads out. That pasta, now that you've learned the technique, ladies and gentlemen, there's a lot of different things you can do. You can take vegetable purees and you can substitute that with some of the liquid. You can make an orange pasta with Timothy's carrots, those ones that he likes, and then you could take green peas, puree them, and add that to your pasta dough, and then have a green pasta dough and an orange pasta dough, and then you could roll it out so it comes out half and half, and you get bicolor sheets. And when you go to cut your fettuccine, it weaves back and forth, and you have beautiful colors. And you do that with raviolis, tagliatelle, cavatelli, and all these other pastas, and it just it's really limited to your imagination now that you understand the technique. And Ebony, it sounds to me like when you were making your pasta, you didn't mix your dough long enough and develop your glutens, and that forced some of it to disperse. And it also could have been that your water wasn't absolutely hot enough, because if you cook your pasta in cold water, if you have a pot of boiling water and you add a lot of pasta to it at the same time, that's going to drop the temperature down in your pot, and it's going to force that starch and force that breakdown of the pasta. Whereas starting with a sufficient amount of water, at least 4 quarts per pound of pasta. That will help keep your noodles together as well in the future. So that's awesome. Joshua, what's up with that Alfredo sauce, man? How'd you like it?
Oops.
Oh, Unmute yourself, Joshua.
Can you hear me now?
We got to get you a sound guy.
I know, right?
Yeah.
No, the Alfredo sauce was great.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I had a blast with this assignment, something I wanted to do a long time, and worked out. I got a little scared with making the volcano myself. It erupted too, but
yeah. Anybody else have their volcano erupt? There you go. There you go, Ruben. You weren't riding your bike by yourself that day. There were a lot of them. Joshua, did you toss your pasta in it?
Yeah. I was able to salvage it, and it turned out great. So
yeah, awesome, man.
Yeah.
Daniel, what about you? What about your Alfredo sauce? How'd that come out?
There we go. It came out really good, Chef. I was just being careful to once I do incorporate the sauce, make sure not to break it, things like that. My salad was ready to go. My pasta was ready as well. So, but doing it together as a flow ended up working out great. I love
that word you just used, flow. Because I think you're in industry already, and the term flow is so critical, and we work and we strive so hard to create that flow in the kitchen, right? So when you've made your Alfredo sauce, if you have to turn around and go get a pot, then you have to fill it up with water, you break your flow, right? But if you line all your mise en place out properly up front, and have your water boiling as you're preparing your sauce, then you just flow and you get in the zone, and there's no back and forth. So good job, Daniel. I like that, man.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Dorielle, what about your Alfredo sauce?
It was pretty good. My baby liked it.
Yeah?
Yeah. I only had
I like it.
I only had a problem with my dough. Like, I don't think I rolled it out enough.
Like so you didn't develop enough gluten structure in there?
No, my fettuccine was kind of thick.
Yeah, it's got to be at least 1/8 of an inch, or less. So good comments. Jay, what about what kind of comments did you get from the people that you fed?
They loved it. My wife loved it. I've got a little pasta machine, a little hand crank, old Italian style pasta machine. So I was able to get it, perfect. And I kneaded it perfectly. It was really soft and tender. It was really, really good. The sauce, one thing I liked about the sauce is it was really sweet. When you add the cream after you've already reduced it, you add the extra fresh cream. It makes it really sweet. It was really good.
It does change the flavor a little bit, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah. Did you add any garlic to it?
Yes, I did. I actually did. And then I made some ravioli the next night with the leftover pasta.
Awesome, man. With ricotta or just
actually I just did some chicken and some carrots. Yeah, I fine julienne some carrots and made it kind of sweet like the carrots from the other project. Just different cuts. It was really good.
Cool, good comments, man.
Yeah, that's good.
So ladies and gents, I think all of you rocked it out on this week's assignment, but I don't know for sure until I hear from the man at the top, and that would be Chef Matthew, right? Well, Chef Matthew, what type of comments did you get, or what type of comments do you have about this week's assignment?
A lot of what we're hearing right now. I mean, there were the typical issues, and definitely with the carrots, trying to get the moisture ratio right. And but most of you, I think, really listened to us, and you had a nice thick cut on the carrots, because that's the only way to get that recipe to work right, is to have a good thick cut, so that when that juice cooks down, there's still some crunch left to the carrot. Otherwise, they're really mushy. Also, looking at the photos, some of you guys are beating yourself up over the thickness of those noodles, but with that sauce all over it, it looked pretty good. I was really hungry grading these, and Alfredo pasta, fettuccine Alfredo is one of my favorite things in this world. So I'm serious. It looked really good. I think you guys did a great job. A lot of them were knocked out of the park. So don't beat yourself up over thick noodles, and put that, up as a lesson. That's exactly what got me to go buy a pasta maker, because I rolled out the dough and I said, wow, this is cool. And I made some fettuccine and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to roll this out right. I got to do it right. So, that'll get you there. So, but I think the comments were great. The pictures were great. And so many of you have improved so much. You don't even know it. Just the narratives, the pictures you're sending in, the comments you're making, the insight you have. You're really thinking like chefs. You're picking up those little details that are really important. And it's really impressive. It's exciting. And I know you're going to love the next classes coming up. They're gonna kick you pretty hard, but you're gonna kick back because you're ready for it. So I'm thrilled.
I have a strong word of advice for everybody. One of the things that keeps us motivated as human beings in life is to look back and see our growth, right? If you guys can go back to week 1, and if we were to pull up our week 1 assignments now and show them, you guys would see a tremendous amount of growth. So the word of advice is never forget where you were yesterday and never forget where you're going tomorrow, because they call it history for a reason. Don't drive looking in your rearview mirror, but you always want to be checking it to make sure that nobody's coming up behind you. So always, always remember where you were on week 1 and where you are today on week 12. And that goes straight across the board. So congratulations, everybody. You've really rocked it out. Let's answer a question here real quick. Jay, you've had your hand up. What's up, man?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I got my pasta roller, back to the pasta roller, from a friend who used to cater, and she stopped doing it, and she just had it like in her closet. She gave it to me, and I think there's a lot of people out there that buy them, use them for, use them a few times, and then they don't use them, and they're just sitting there. So you could probably find one from a friend or at a yard sale, stuff like that, and get them fairly inexpensive.
Yeah, great suggestion. I know as well on eBay and Craigslist and those types of sites, they're very inexpensive. So yeah, great. Thank you very much for sharing that, man. That's awesome. So Ebony, what about you? What's going on, Ebony?
I think I didn't let my pasta dry long enough. How long do you let it sit before it hit the water?
No. Pasta's like people. The longer it sits, the harder they become. So you don't want to let it, you really don't need to let it sit at all. You can roll it out and drop it right into the water.
Okay.
The curing or the drying process would only literally be a method of preservation to allow, and that's why we recommend that you hang it over a rack, right, and separate it, let it dry out, and that becomes a method of preservation. Because like I was talking about last week, the water activity level in that product becomes so minimal that it doesn't have enough hydration in there to transmit or grow any type of bacteria. So that's why we hang it out on the racks and allow it to dry. Okay. But the fresh pasta, use it fresh.
Okay.
Great thing about that recipe is for fresh pasta using all-purpose flour, which is really pretty cheap. If you want to have pasta to dry, you're going to need semolina flour. It has more protein and it'll hold together. If you try and dry that all-purpose flour pasta, it's going to crumble as soon as you touch it. Once it's dry, it is super brittle and it will just crumble and fall to pieces. You won't even be able to get it over to the pot. So you can't, with that recipe, you cannot dry it. The only way to store it is to freeze it. Just make sure it's not in a clump when you freeze it. Make sure it's all spread out neatly next to each other, and then you can freeze it, cover it well, and freeze it on a tray. But yeah, any dry pasta you see in the store has, if you look at the ingredients, it specifically says semolina or durum flour. And it's because it needs that type of flour with that amount of protein to hold it together. So,
yep.
Good
and
question.
I used bread flour, was unbleached bread flour.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yep.
Absolutely. That'll develop more glutens because it has a higher protein content. So that makes. Chef Matthew, did you have any more comments about last week's assignment?
No, no, just I just was really impressed, and I think you guys are moving along just like you need to for the program, and just starting to show off skills. And I'm glad you mentioned it, Chef. The way you said it, the rear view mirror was great, because you guys don't even know. If you go back and look at week 1, everybody just go do that. Take some time, look back at week 1. You're gonna be astonished. You're gonna go, wow, I did that. So.
Yeah, because you have a different perspective now. Sandra, what's up?
I was going to ask Chef Matthew, how do you like my version of 2.5 eggs? Did you see the difference?
Oh,
my
yeah.
Eggs, I had 2 egg rolls and I had a little bitty egg. So that was my solution for 2.5 eggs.
Yeah, because we mentioned cutting the recipe in half, and I think you asked me in class last week, how do I get 2.5 eggs? Somebody did.
No, it wasn't me. But I already figured I could use a little egg, so we have a variety of them.
There you go. Awesome. So great job on week 11, everybody. Great job moving forward. I know we didn't have a discussion board this week, but I just wanted to point out something before you guys move on. Some of you guys have begun to develop relationships with one another in this course. If you have, reach out, get email addresses, get telephone numbers. The culinary industry is built upon networking, right? These relationships that you know now, Jay, don't be surprised if you turn around and Dan Peck is right next to you in the kitchen one day. I mean, it's a darn good possibility. So always keep these relationships going. I've been in the kitchen as a chef for the last 37 years. I talk to people from every single one of those years still. And you know what? That opens doors. It keeps you active. It's never ending. So definitely work on maintaining those relationships. Exchange emails, exchange numbers, get to know your fellow students, especially when you go into CA or CA 121 with Chef Caesar. The more you guys collaborate, the more you guys share information with one another, the more that you're going to grow. What's going to happen in 121, you guys are going to come up with ideas, dishes, right? On how to plate, how to cook it, how to present it, utilizing the techniques that you learned here in 121. When you reach out and you share that idea with another fellow student or another chef, that idea morphs itself into something beautiful, right? Because if you keep it inside of your head, it's going to stay in there. But when you let it out and you share it, that's how things grow and get better. Chef Matthew can relate to this. When we write menus in industry, we collaborate with all other chefs, our customers, everybody else. No chef I know has ever written a great menu by himself. Never. I know a lot of great chefs that are wonderful communicators that talk to everybody and write great menus. So the more you guys communicate, the more you guys network, the more chances of success lie in your lap. So definitely adhere to that piece of advice as well. So week 12, here we are, man. Let's talk about our assignment. And I know I sent out a video last week to everybody. Did everybody see it? Did anybody see it? Yeah? Our assignment this week is due Sunday, September the 23rd at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. There will be no late submissions. We can't accept them. We have to close our grading books on Monday, right? Please do not send Chef Matthew to the hospital with a stress attack by waiting till 11:59 to submit all of your assignments. It becomes burdensome. Work ahead of the game. Successful chefs in this industry proact before we react. We work way ahead of the curve, right? We do not wait till the last minute. Assignments this week are due no later than Sunday, September the 23rd at 11:59 p.m. Does everybody understand that? Any questions? Right? I know there have been some of you that had some concerns regarding your grade out there, and I've spoken with I think most of you regarding that situation over the past week or so. If you still have concerns regarding your grade, get a hold of me, please. My phone number is on the right-hand side of the class page, 520-276-6281. We want to help you out. We want to help you succeed. So if you're concerned, if you have any challenges in that area, now's the time. We're running out of time. We can't do anything for you after Sunday, September the 23rd. So reach out, let us know what we can do to help you out. Did I mention the assignments due Sunday, September the 23rd at 11:59? No late submissions. So let's take a look at our class page this week and see what we got going on over here quickly. Let me share my screen. Is that the right screen?
There it is.
Am I up? Week 12? Mm-hmm. All right. So if we take a look at our assignment page, you'll notice these red letters right up here at the top of the page. It happens to mention very politely that all assignments, including discussion, practicals, and the final exam, are due Sunday of this week. That would be Sunday, September the 23rd at 11:59 p.m. Just a friendly reminder, I think I've mentioned that. And then research materials. Review all previous readings to prepare for the final exam, which we're going to get into here in just a moment. Live session, Wednesday, September the 19th. Thank you all for joining us this evening. And then our final exam is right here. We're going to talk about the details of that in just a moment. And then the actual assignment this week is soup and composed salad. And if any of you out there have missed any assignments to date, please utilize these makeup assignments. It's extremely critical. And then we have additional course readings down here at the bottom, and then extra credit options, which we will discuss here in just a moment. So moving on to the final exam. The final exam is 50 questions to be completed within 90 minutes. Within that 90 minutes, you may attempt the final exam as many times as you like. Everybody understand that? Okay. As many times as you want to take those 50 questions within that 90-minute time period, you can do it. You cannot start and stop the final exam after you've begun it. In other words, walk the dog, let him out. When he comes back in, close the door, start the exam. All right? The exam, 90 minutes, 50 questions. Every question on that final exam has been talked about in the live session. So for you loyals that are here on a regular basis, your chances are very, very good of doing well on that final exam. All the questions are composed of information that has been utilized in either the assignments or in the research materials. It's my recommendation that you take a few minutes, set aside an hour, right? Tomorrow morning or tomorrow evening, set aside an hour. Go back and spend about 10, 15 minutes on each week. Right? Review the research material, just glance at it, refresh your memory, and then start the test. You'll be much more successful. On average, it takes students about 30 minutes to complete the test. So 90 minutes is ample time to do it. You should be able to take it more than once. However, if you decide to take it again and go back and redo the questions at the end of your first attempt, the system shuffles the questions. And the system also puts in and puts out different questions. So if you take the test and you answer the 50 questions and you find that you didn't do so well and you decide to retake it, you're probably going to get some different questions. Does that make sense? Like a little shuffling game out there. So, you know, the 30 minutes on average for the students to take it, that'll give you 3 attempts within that 90 minutes to take it. Just spend a few minutes, review the information before you take the test. It's a simple test. I went through it myself this afternoon, and you should fly through it. Everything has been talked about, so I feel very confident in this class that everyone's going to do very well. Does anybody have any questions regarding the exam? What about Dan Peck? You have your hand up.
I do. I will take it down now.
There you go.
Do we have the ability to skip through questions if we happen to get stumped? God forbid we happen to get stumped on a question. Are we able to jump to the next question and come back?
You can go forward and back. What's that?
I said without affecting the overall status of it, because I know you said I think last week, if we stop the test, that's going to be submitted as our attempt, and that's that.
Right. You cannot start the test and then stop the test and then come back a day later and finish the test. It's only 90 minutes, right? That test will open up for you. You can go forward and backwards within that test, however, to answer your question.
Okay. Perfect.
Does that work?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Timothy, what's up? No?
Unrelated, Chef.
What's that?
Unrelated question. I was just trying to figure out, has anybody in class used the Student Commons yet?
Use the what?
The Student Commons. You can go in there and it's just like Zoom. You go in there with like all your classmates, like for a discussion or something.
I don't know.
I haven't had anybody use it. That'd be a great resource to get in touch with and make relations.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the Student Commons is a great area to network.
Be a great study hall too.
Yeah.
Ruben, what's going on with you?
No, I know you said within the 90 minutes you can retake it, but whatever it takes, like half of, like, they say 60 minutes or whatever, you take your time through it. But after the 90 minutes, it's like you don't feel comfortable. Can you retake it again? Or that's it, it's done?
That's it. Yeah. You get one shot at it, and you can take as many times within that 90 minutes as you like.
All right.
Yeah. And, having gone through the test, final exam, you hear that word, you develop a psychological opinion of what a final exam is. And, it creates a little bit of fear in your head. Just review the research material. Just reflect upon the assignments that we've done over the last 11 weeks to this point, and that will get you through the exam just fine.
Will it be similar to the knowledge check or no?
They are similar in nature to the knowledge checks.
Oh, okay. So we might see some repetitive questions that we've seen in the knowledge checks in there, or they're totally different?
They're worded differently. For example, Mirepoix, right? It's going to ask you what percentage of each item is supposed to be in the Mirepoix, the carrots, onion, and celery, right? And I think we talked about 50, 25, 25, right? For Mirepoix, for making stocks. So, I mean, and they're all multiple choice questions. My recommendation to you is when you're taking the test, just go through and get rid of the ones that don't make sense until you get to the one that does make sense. And generally you'll be successful.
All right. No problem. Got it.
Does anybody else have any other questions regarding the final exam? No?
Chef, in the talk or in the chat, Crystal is asking, if you take the test more than once, does it give you the last grade or the best grade you get?
Highest, just like the knowledge checks. Yeah. And hopefully you get better each time you take it, but I've been known to go backwards in that area as well. So,
good question.
Does that answer your question, Crystal? What's that?
Hey, Chef, I just popped on, and I didn't hear any of this before, but so the test is going to be just like the knowledge checks, where we can continuously do it in open book?
Right. So if you do open book, nobody's going to know. Because, I mean, unless we have like little cameras and stuff, but that'd be too weird. But you have 90 minutes to answer the 50 questions. It takes the average student about 30 minutes to do the test. You can take that test as many times as you like within the 90 minutes. And it's similar in nature to the knowledge checks, but not the exact same questions. They are all worded differently.
Okay, so you could take the test as many times within 90 minutes, but you can't take it again after 90 minutes.
Exactly. Right? Don't order Domino's at the beginning of the test and have to get up and answer the door. Right? It ain't gonna work.
Right.
Yeah. And it's not that difficult. So I think you're all gonna be fine. So moving on. Our weekly culinary assignment, our cooking assignment this week, due Sunday, September the 23rd at 11:59 p.m. Don't forget. your assignment this week is to prepare a soup and a composed salad. Now, I know in front of me there are some very creative minds out there, and oftentimes creative minds try to stretch things to certain limits. And my recommendation to all of you when it comes to doing this, we're going to discuss the rubric here in just a moment, the rubric being the actual assignment page. Stick to focusing on accomplishing exactly what's on the rubric to get 100 on your final cooking exam. You have the creative freedom to create your own soup and salad. There is no recipe that you're working with this week. I highly recommend, one, you network a little bit, talk to some other people, do a little bit of research, right? Get some magazines, Google it, you know, take a look around, reflect upon menus that you've had, other dishes that you've had before you create your actual menu, right? And that will help you out greatly. Do not get insane. Do not do, you know, a lobster bisque with gold leaf flakes and duck confit dumplings. You know, it sounds great, right? And we love it because we love it when we see you guys go. However, when you start doing that for final exams and everything else, that's when the mishaps happen, right? So what we are looking for in this final exam is a display of your techniques that you've learned over the last 11 weeks, right? So for the salad, okay, you can make, it calls for a composed salad. I highly recommend getting some nice, fresh, crisp greens, right? And then you're going to want to create a nice vegetable garnish. That nice vegetable garnish can be a great julienne cut, some bias cut cucumbers, some thinly sliced radishes, some julienne tomatoes, a small dice of tomato. Think about it. Get creative in your mind. We're looking at the knife cuts, and the knife cuts are required to be up against a ruler for this, okay? So now you have your nice, crisp, fresh lettuce, and you're going to add your vegetable garnish to it, and then you're going to create a dressing. That dressing can be a vinaigrette or it can be mayonnaise based, right? You must make the mayonnaise. Do not get it from a jar. I think we learned how to do that a couple weeks ago. And then we also learned how to make the vinaigrette. You have the creative freedom to add something to those dressings to, you know, alter it however you like. Like I said, don't go crazy. With a mayonnaise-based dressing, if you wanna add a little funk to it, consider adding maybe a touch of chipotle, maybe a little bit of honey, a little bit of mustard, a little bit of cracked black pepper. Make honey mustard dressing. Take a look at it. You know, take a look at the information that you research. You can mechanically prepare your mayonnaise if you like, meaning you can utilize a KitchenAid mixer. You can utilize an inversion blender. You can mechanically prepare it. A Cuisinart or a RoboCoupe works just fine. However, that does not excuse you from doing the actual pictures. Does that make sense? So you must satisfy the rubric this week. Your salad, it's in a bowl. You've just made your dressing. You're on a roll. Now you're going to take some of your dressing and you're going to toss your salad. We are not looking for salads that are swimming in dressing. We do not serve straws with our dressing. There are no lifeguards sitting on the edge of the plate to save your drowning lettuce. So we want to make sure that when we toss our greens, right, it's just enough to give those greens a nice sheen, okay? Just barely coat the lettuce, right? In industry average, when we go to do banquets, we calculate about 1 to 1.5 ounces of dressing per customer, right? So it's just a light dressing. After you toss your salad, right, you're going to put your dressing in there, you're going to take your tongs, you're going to toss it, then you're going to plate it, okay? And that becomes your composed salad. Does anyone have questions about that? Tamara Liz, what's going on? Tamara Liz.
My question was, can I do like a ham and cabbage soup?
You can do a ham and cabbage soup.
And I could cut all the vegetables up like a julienne size. With just like,
I say that's no problem. However, we're about to talk about soups here in just a moment, and I don't recommend doing a julienne in soups because at an 1/8 of an inch by 1/8 of an inch by 2 to 3 inches, they do have a tendency not to fit on a spoon, right? Which is a little bit inconvenient when you're trying to eat and something's bigger than your mouth. And then they also have a tendency to decompose if they're held. In industry, when we get soup hot, it sometimes can sit for several hours. And so you don't want anything that decomposes quickly.
mm-hmm.
But the ham and cabbage soup, absolutely, sure. Does that answer your question? Good.
Yes, that answered my question. I was just only asking because everybody in my house is bugging me for ham and cabbage. I'm like, perfect timing.
Yeah, we'll talk about the soup here in just a second. Let's see. What about Jay? What's going on, man?
So on the salad, can we be as simple as we want to be? Do we have to have a certain number of vegetables or whatever in it?
You, my friend, are a very smart man. KISS, right? Keep it simple, Sam. When you go to do this exam, we're going to talk about the rubric here in just a minute. Stick to the rubric. Do what the rubric says. You get 100% on the final exam, right? We're not looking for rocket lettuce with radicchio and braised endive and pommes frites. You know, I mean, it's nice. We'd love to see it, but that's not what that is not what is required to get 100 on the exam. Does that answer your question?
That does.
Yeah. So I mean, if it satisfies with the nice vinaigrette or the nice mayonnaise dressing, the nice lettuce tossed properly with a nice vegetable cut displaying your knife skills, go home, go to sleep, man. You did it. And that's the hard part to understand. All right, Deidre.
Yes, I'm wondering, do we have to provide the recipe for each item that we make in the soup and the salad, or do we just show the steps in the production sheet as we've been doing each week?
No recipe required. However, once we get to the narrative, we're going to talk a little bit about that in a little bit more detail. Now, that's a great question, though. So the answer to your question is no.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else have questions before I move on? Any questions about the salad? Dorielle, what's your question?
It's not about the salad. It's about my soup. If I want to make chicken noodle soup, can I remake some more pasta for the soup?
We would love it if you did. I think that's going to give you a lot more practice, and it's really going to help your technique and help you master that technique. So I encourage it if you want to do a chicken noodle.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? All right, ladies and gents, let's move. Any more questions about the salad? Simple, right? Easy. Just put your seatbelt on, drive slow through the neighborhood, and just do what the thing recommends, the rubric. Moving on to the next thing, we're going to be talking about the soup that is going to be served this week. You are not required to make your own stock. Okay? You don't have to do that. However, if you are going to use a canned or boxed or powdered stock, I highly recommend you take a moment to read the label, right? There is a lot of stuff in there that I can't pronounce, and if I can't pronounce it, I don't want to eat it, right? If I have to be a pharmacist to understand what is in my food, it's probably not going to go through my system too well, and my system's not going to recognize what it is. And I'm a firm believer that's where a lot of disease and cancers and everything else in our society comes from. So take a moment to pick up the label, read it, be conscientious about what you're serving and what you're cooking. You'll oftentimes find it's a lot safer to make your own stock, right? Any type of meat product that can sit on the shelf for an extended period of time without refrigeration makes me nervous. And that's what stocks and broths and cans and the boxes are. So I don't necessarily recommend it. So like I mentioned with the salad, take a few moments, do some research. You know, that ham and cabbage soup sounded great. A simple soup like the homemade chicken noodle soup, you know, that satisfies requirement, and I think it's that's what it's all about. Demara Liz mentioned a julienne in the soup. When we make soups, and for this assignment, Chef Matthew is going to be all over this. Whatever you put in your soup must fit on the spoon. Okay? The reason it fits on the spoon, that way it'll fit in your mouth, right? And a lot of people have a lot of people in industry, oftentimes you'll go out, you'll order a bowl of soup, and there's like this 4-inch long object in it. And, you know, it's kind of awkward, you know, when you're in a restaurant trying to eat like that. So as a rule of thumb, the well-educated culinarians always like to have everything that will fit on your spoon, or whatever goes in your soup must fit on your spoon, which will fit in your mouth. So keep that in mind. I don't recommend doing a large dice. I had 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch. That's too big for a soup, and oftentimes will not cook very well. So particular knife cuts are required for this assignment. So 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch for your medium dice is about as large as you're going to want to go. You can also do a small dice if you like. Brunoise have a tendency to get lost in the soup, so you want to try to avoid those too much. So whatever you guys do this week, whether you do a cream soup, a broth soup, whether you do a mayonnaise dressing, whether you guys do a vinaigrette dressing, have fun, right? We do this. We are not in prison. We are here to have fun and learn. Have fun with what you cook this week. It's very, very important, right? If it's torture to you to go in there and make something else, right? Now, this is not a sentence. This is a blessing. So go in there and have fun with whatever you guys decide to make. Any questions about the soup? Timothy, what's up, man?
You diced for your soups.
What's that?
You were talking about diced for your soups. What about, like, I was making a Toscana soup.
Uh-huh.
The zuppa Toscana. Everything's sliced in that.
Correct. So the proper way to do that, and I think there's zucchini in that. If you take that zucchini, you know, you're obviously going to wash it real well, cut the ends off of it, and then you're going to cut it in half, and then you're going to cut it in half again lengthwise. So you're going to end up with 4 pieces that are about that wide and about that long each, and then you slice it. Does that make sense?
I was just checking because we just do potatoes and kale and spicy Italian sausage, cream, chicken broth.
Right. Okay, and then I'm sure everything in that soup is diced. Probably the largest is going to be a medium dice, or with the potatoes, maybe a large dice. Am I correct?
Well, no, we sliced them.
You sliced potatoes are something that can easily be broken apart with a spoon.
Okay.
So I'd be fine with it.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you're welcome. Nate, what's going on, man?
Hey, Chef. So I have a question. So when you were talking about the different stocks, can we use like pre-made stocks like the box, you know, broth, like beef broth or chicken broth, or do we need to make it from scratch?
No, it's not required that you make it from scratch this week.
Okay, so we can get like the box broth from like Walmart.
If that's what you intend to do, that's perfectly fine. If you have stock left over in your freezer, pull it out, use it. From our prior assignment, I would recommend it. But you know, we always try to discourage people from using the box paste or whatever. However, there are certain circumstances where you guys are short on time or whatever the case is, and we understand. So
my plan was to use the box broth and then make like a homemade chicken and then add that into that, you know, as for my soup, like a chicken and rice. That's what I was thinking about.
Yeah, that's fine. That's no problem. Recommendation, if you are going to do chicken rice soup, whenever you add a farinaceous thing to a soup, farinaceous items in industry are defined as things that absorb more liquid than their weight, right? So rice, barley, couscous, and the list, pasta, the list goes on and on. Always prepare your rice separately, and when you go to serve it, put your rice in your bowl and then pour your hot soup over the top. Do not let the rice sit in your soup because it continues to absorb. Right, it's just like putting a kid in the candy store, man. They're gonna sit there and eat all day long. So you gotta make sure that you keep your starches separate. The potato, like Timothy was mentioning a moment ago, will continue to cook and will continue to break down as the soup is stirred. So I've seen places that will actually blanch their potatoes beforehand and then add their potatoes at the last moment.
Okay, so pretty much you're saying it'll make the rice soggy in a way, like since it's sitting in that soup.
Well, yeah. Rice is like a tire, man. If you keep putting air in it, it's eventually going to blow. And that's exactly what happens is that rice continues to drink the broth, right? So your ratio of broth to solid items in the soup is greatly affected because that rice is absorbed so much. You end up with more of a stew-like consistency versus an actual soup.
Okay, sweet.
Right?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Any other
Chef?
questions? Yes.
Chef, I think Deidre had a question. She put her hand down, but I want to make sure we get her.
I thought we got Deidre, didn't we? Deidre? Yeah, we talked to Deidre.
Oh, did we? Okay.
Yeah, I think we got her. All right.
Yes, you answered my question.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Deidre. So, ladies and gents, we talked about the soup. We talked about the salad. Any other questions, please? If you don't, if they pop up later. Ruben, what's up?
Yeah, I know you're talking about kids, keep it safe and simple. Just wondering, are we able to recreate minestrone soup again, or you just want us to be creative and come up with something new?
You can do the minestrone again. I mean, you can. I mean, don't reutilize the stuff that you've had in your refrigerator for the last couple of weeks.
No, I'm just saying. Sometimes you get a little brain fart and can't think of an idea. So, I mean, just wondering.
I always recommend, having done many of these before and done them myself and also proctored them, I always recommend doing what you know how to do best, right? If you know how to make that minestrone and you can do it well.
I had a lot of great compliments on it when I did it, so I felt comfortable doing it again. A lot of people said they loved it,
There's only one promise only one promise I can make you. It's going to be better than it was the last time. Yeah.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions, ladies and gents? Anyone else? All right. Let's move on to our narrative this week. The narrative is going to be picked over with a fine-tooth comb by Chef Matthew. It's kind of an accumulation of everything that you've learned over the last 11 weeks. Chef Matthew has mentioned so many times how proud he is and how much progress he's seen in the development of the narrative. This is where you're really going to kind of shine with your steps. As mentioned, you do not have to list your actual recipe in the narrative, but you are required to list your production steps, your observations, be complete, be thorough, be honest with what you are writing in there. We need to know that you are able to explain this to one of your fellow chefs, to one of your cooks, to one of your employees, to one of your dining room staff members, to one of your front of the house staff members. So we need to make sure that we understand that. We also want to hear some thorough information about the feedback that you get from the people that you feed. Ruben just mentioned that he got great comments when he served that minestrone soup, right? That's the kind of stuff that needs to be listed in there. So, and thorough comments. Hey, one of my guests thought that the green bean and the minestrone was, they didn't care for it, right? And it's not that those are negative comments. The comments that we receive through our guest feedback is how we grow. A big piece of advice for all of you, you're all on your way to becoming a chef somewhere. Big piece of advice. When I first became a chef, every time I heard something negative, I used to shut the door on it. It took me a couple of years to realize that's how I can grow. So I read the information, I process the information, and then I make changes according to what I'm told from those around me. Because I live in a fish tank. I can't see outside the fish tank. So those comments are what's going on inside the fish tank, and it can really help me grow as a person. So we like to hear those comments. They're very, very important. So be detailed in your narrative this week as well. I believe it counts for 35% of your final grade in this assignment. So it carries quite a bit of weight of the 100 points that you receive, 35 on the narrative. So work it. Yeah. Any questions on the narrative? Nate, did you have another question?
Yes, sir. It was not about the narrative. It's actually about one of the salad greens I was going to use. Are we allowed to use what my mother usually uses for her salads? It's like coleslaw in a bag, and it comes like. Is it okay to use that for my salad?
I would recommend against it. I mean, if that's the only thing you're able to get. Number one, lettuces that come in bags are flushed with carbon dioxide, right? The carbon dioxide prevents the growth of, it removes all the oxygen, obviously, but it stymies the growth of any of the plants that are in there, and it also gives it an off taste. So in industry, that became a big trend a couple of years ago, but now we're really moving away from it. I think a head of lettuce is probably about 50, 75 cents a buck. I don't know. If you're able to swing it, go for it.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the price. I was just something that she does sometimes. I know that she likes, just an idea, but I'll keep that in mind for sure.
Yeah, a lot of people like it for the convenience factor. However, as chefs, right?
Yeah.
we're more interested in quality and flavor and everything else. So definitely keep that in mind.
Okay, sweet. Thank you for that advice. I actually appreciate that. That's going to help me.
You're welcome. My pleasure. All right, ladies and gents. So we have a good understanding of our weekly assignment. We have something else, a very special surprise for all of you. That's really critical information. At the top of the class page, there is the end of course survey. That is extra credit, and we ask that you all take it. You get 5% up and above for taking the end of the course. Look at Chef Matthew. Look at that. 5, 5, 5, 5. Little Caesars. You get an additional 5% on top of your grade for taking that end of course survey. So when you take the survey, like I was just mentioning, we love the good constructive criticism feedback. Be honest. I mean, Chef Matthew and I are just awesome, but it's kind of hard to say anything. But be honest with your feedback. We take this information, and that's how we grow the program. That's how we improve the program, whether it be teaching or evaluation or program content or program layout. Let us know what we can improve upon so we can make this a better program for you in the future as you progress and for the students that are coming in behind you. So we appreciate the honest feedback. 5% up and above your standing grade. So certainly take advantage of it. Let's take a quick look at our assignment page this week. These are the nuts and the bolts of everything. Can everybody see that? You see that, Chef Matthew?
Yep, there it is.
All right. So it's so simple, right? We just talked about what you need to do. When you submit this assignment before Sunday, September the 23rd at 11:59 Central Standard Time, Sunday, September 23rd, 11:59 Central Standard Time, you are going to do this simple information, self-identification photo. Don't blow it on the last one. Make sure you got your hat. Make sure your midriff isn't sticking out, right? Chef coat, shoes, all that kind of good stuff. Sanitation bucket, test strip, between 50 and 100 parts per million, right on the money. Mise en place, including all food and tools, neatly set on your station, right? Your mise en place will also be your salad dressing ingredients, your salad mise en place, your soup ingredients, all together or in 3 separate photos. Hey, make life easy. One photo. Boom, done. Right? All vegetable cuts required for the soup using a ruler were applicable, right? So we need to see at least 2 cuts up against a ruler, right? Any questions about that? Good. Close-up photo of vegetable sweating in appropriate pot. So when Ruben's making his minestrone, he's going to take a picture in the pot of all the vegetables sweating, right? Simmering soup. So with Demara Liz and her ham and cabbage soup, right? As that soup is simmering, right? You're going to see, you're going to take a picture of that. Acid and seasonings in a vinaigrette in a bowl, or eggs for the mayo. You must make the mayo this week. Spoon of vinaigrette or mayo with half of the requested oil, the required oil. So basically, what that is asking for is the pitcher in state, or the oil in stages, right? So you're going to make half, take a picture of it, then you're going to add the rest of the oil and take a picture of it. Close up spoon full of vinaigrette or mayo when finished. Close up finished dressing, plated soup with appropriate garnish, and plated salad with ingredients tossed in dressing. Are there any questions about that? Ebony, what's your question?
Survey. I did it in my other class. Will I have one for this one, or are they cooperated together?
Nope, separate sisters.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're
Chef?
Yes.
What if your soup doesn't require vegetable sweating?
What kind of soup are you making?
I was thinking of making my family's chicken and dumplings.
Chicken and dumplings? You do sweat vegetables in chicken and dumplings, right? The carrots, onions, celery. And then you add, you sweat it in your butter, and then you add the flour, and then you add the broth. Is that correct?
It's a different way that we do it. We keep our vegetables like that, and we reduce our chicken down and kind of make a stock out of the chicken. And the vegetables kind of soak up through that way. We don't make a roux. And then we roll out our dough really, really paper thin, kind of like we did with our assignment. And we cut it in small squares, pull it in like spoon-sized squares, and toss it in the liquid.
Gotcha.
And then that makes the soup.
Gotcha. Let's roll.
So I'm trying to figure out.
That's from the South.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's from South Arkansas. That's 500-person town.
The only thing you're doing right now is making me hungry, Archie. That's all that this is doing for me. But hey, let's let that roll, and then just make a special note to Chef Matthew that we talked about this during the live session, so he doesn't be on it. Does that sound good?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll put him for a second.
What's that?
I'm okay. I'm okay being reminded of stuff. That doesn't offend me a bit if you remind me.
There's
Dude.
Oh, I'm married, man. I'm reminded of everything all day long.
Rogue's dead.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, Rogue.
Yeah. So, ladies and gents, do we have any other questions? Right? Yeah, Vincent, what's up, man?
Carlo.
What's that?
Carlo, it's beef soup with potatoes, cabbage, squash, and carrots and all that. Yes, the vegetable beef soup.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're good for it, man. That's no problem. Yeah, no problem. Ladies and gents, let me take a few minutes to remind all of you your assignment this week is due Sunday, September the 23rd at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time. We will accept no late submissions. If you are concerned about your grade, reach out. My number is on the right-hand side of the class page, 520-276-6281. We are here to help you succeed. I don't want to see anybody have to repeat this class. Now's the time to jump on it. Anybody have any last questions? Awesome. Yes, go for it.
So I'm curious about the whole exam. So say, for example, we don't pass the final, is that going to affect passing the class, or are there other things that will help us continue, for the grade?
That depends on where you're at as far as your grade is concerned. Nate, I think you're doing pretty good. So as long as you do fairly well on the exam, you're going to be just fine. You're going to have
okay. Well, I'm not worried about the final. I'm just curious, about that, because I know, like, for instance, in high school, like, it sounds silly, but if you have the final and you have a good grade, and if you fail the final, they usually let you, slide by because your grades are already high enough, and that kind of gives you a pass. That's why I was curious about that. Like, I don't know if it's different with college in this way.
Right. So it does carry weight towards your grade. So if you're skimming around the bottom, you're going to want to make sure that you study hard for this.
Yeah.
Very well.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, Joshua, what's your question?
It's not really a question. I just wanted to thank you and Chef Matthew for for the course. I've learned a lot. It's been wonderful. And also, I didn't know if you had watched Supermensch. Have you ever heard of that documentary?
No. What's it called?
Yeah, Supermensch. I remember you talked about cooking for Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
Alice Cooper's manager is a character, and he also helped pretty much create the celebrity chef, like Emeril Lagasse. Yeah, the same guy who managed Alice Cooper.
Oh, wow. I'm going to check that out, man.
Check it out. Yeah, but thank you guys. That's all.
Thank you. No. And I know Chef Matthew and I want to thank each and every person out there. You guys have been an absolutely fantastic class. Don't lose touch. We are a valuable resource for your future. And it is our intent to help each and every one of you succeed. So when you get beyond this class and you are with Chef Caesar, who is awesome, when you are with him, if you have additional questions or need additional information, certainly feel free to reach out to myself or Chef Matthew. We are still here. We're still alive. We're still on air. So, certainly reach out to us. Anybody else? Ebony,
hey, I wanted to say thank you too. I appreciate it. You guys are rock stars.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. You guys are great. It's been a lot of fun. We've had some great live sessions, great conversations. You all ask great questions, and I love how engaged you are and how into it you are. It's been a lot of fun.
Yep. And absolutely, I second that. And you're most likely 99.9999% sure that you will see Chef Matthew and I in another class as you progress, because we do teach multiple classes. So once you get into 155, the business side of this whole thing with facility layout and design, you'll see me, Chef Matthews, and some other core classes as well. So we look forward to seeing all of you again. So everybody,
so much, Chef, for everything.
Yeah, it's been a blast.
Yep. I had a wonderful time in this class, and I cannot wait to see myself further down the road, and hopefully one day cooking for you guys in my own shop.
Wouldn't that be nice? Give us a discount, though. Yeah. Give us a discount. Old chefs need discounts.
Yeah. Hey, you'll get a discount. Don't worry about that.
All right, ladies and gents, we're going to wrap up this class, but thank you so much. Stay in contact. We look forward to working with everybody for the final couple of days here in CA 102. Ciao.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
The next one.